Hello malt mates, welcome to the Whisky Bothy. Welcome to review number 1106. We're now getting towards the end of November 2025, so I thought I'd take an opportunity to review some of the more visible, exciting, available whiskies, just to give you my take on them, my opinion, because that's all a review can ever be, unless it's totally marketing orientated. However, just for the record, I'm not really marketing whiskey as such. I'm just sharing my hobby, my passion, my interest. I buy what I review, and it's been an absolute joy to be buying this. I would call it money well invested. This is a bottle of Ardnamurchan Golden Promise Barley Single Malt, unpeated, and it's from their Heritage Barley Release Programme. I suspect they've got some beer barley, that's B-E-R-E, which is a popular variety of barley grown in Scottish farms, particularly in the West Coast, because it's quite rugged and quite a tough variety. But I'm going to review this specific whisky and tell you what I think of it, smell it, taste it, malt mark it. And then in my next review, the 1106 Extras, I'm going to talk a little bit about the barleys that are used in this kind of style of single malt presentation, which never got much of a mention back in the day. Even about 10-15 years ago, it really wasn't an issue as such. But now with the artisanization, is that a real word? Probably not. I'll rephrase that. With the artisanal approach to Scotch whisky now, it is becoming popular, fashionable, and is perceived when local barleys, organic barleys, indigenous barley, specific variety barleys are being used, you're getting a higher yield of flavour and quality. So let's see how we get on with this. This is an on-age statement single malt, and it's bottled at, give me a second, I'll need my steampunker for this, because this has got a little label. It'll be in the back of the label. I'm sure it is. Here we go. 59.2%. So this is a full cask strength. You can see by the colour of the whisky that it's probably been first fill bourbon matured. I would put the age about 8. This is going to make the experience very spirit forward, and therefore the influence of the Golden Promise barley is going to be prominent, because it's not competing with the influence of the casks. So it's not a particularly oaky whisky, and it certainly doesn't have a particular finish to it. The feature here is specifically, and I'll read out what it's saying here, unpeated Golden Promise matured in bourbon barrels. There we have it. Now, a word of advice, I'll mention this in passing. If you want to be sure that there's no E150A caramel colourant, which is an industrial chemical that has been added to whisky to improve the colour, one of the ways to do it, and you'll notice this particularly in a cask strength whisky, is to turn the bottle on its side, and when you see what I'm about to do, you'll realise why I poured the dram first, and give it a good vigorous shake. Now, see the foam on the top that's quickly dissipating now. It's quite white. See if there's caramel colourant in that whisky. That white foam on the top that's disappearing, alcohol foam, it'll have a slightly mocha or brownish tint to it. So we're all good. This is a young, robust, unchill filtered, natural coloured whisky, so it doesn't mind a bit of a shaking now and again. Now, how about what's in the glass? I'm not going to be shaking that. I'm just going to be rolling it gently to coat the liquor onto the side of the glass before I put my nose into it. Sweet, very vanilla, a light toffee note, and distinctly biscuity. It's more sweet biscuit than savoury biscuit. The sweetness, of course, is coming from the bourbon casks, and it gives it more of a shortbread note when the cereal is quite prominent. Certainly, I've come across Golden Promise barley in my past when I was a beer drinker, because there's even a variety of beer named Golden Promise, and it certainly was used by a number of Scottish distilleries and even Scottish breweries, and then latterly adopted by some Scottish distilleries back in the day, because they felt that they got superior results from the Golden Promise barley, despite the fact that it provided a lower yield of alcohol in relation to the price per tonne of grain. Now, I've let this sit and open up in the glass now. Let's see what's going on. I'll move the bottle over to this side of the barrel, because it usually sits there. And at this side, if the cats come in, they'll probably knock it over. There's a lemon note, mild lemon, sort of lemon grapefruit, slight sorbet, lemon sorbet note as well. It's not full confectionery, far from it, but it's got a real kind of zestiness, a fresh fruit tang to it, of various soft, slightly creamy citrus fruits. Melon is in there as well, some soft background pineapple, slightly confectionery, but never particularly sweet. Then on the palate, and bear in mind this is cask strength, up at 59.2%. A big, bright, fresh, aggressive, clean attack. Loads of flavour. It's quite pith, as in the white flesh that you get between the rind of a grapefruit or lemon and the actual fruit in the centre of it. And that's usually quite bitter. This has that bitter characteristic. It complements and assimilates in really well, lifting the whole sensation range involvement in the delivery of the flavour. At this point, I mean, you could drink this neat, no problem at all. It's a very well-made whisky. But I'm adding 10 millilitres of water. Now I'm going to bring my glass forward as far as I can, right, so into view. Now see if you notice the swirling effect. It's called the visimetry. Right, see the visimetry there? Always a good sign of something that's unchill filtered, and when you have more contribution from a grain being used in making a whisky, above and beyond just the alcohol, when you have heightened flavour contribution, the visimetry tends to be enhanced in the whisky in the glass, unless it's all been stripped out by chill filtration. In this instance, Ardnamurchan are a reputable brand. We can rely on them not to do this, and important, we can rely on them not to do this and yet somehow try and tell us, well, basically fake it. I really have a suspicion that some of the bigger whisky companies are partially chill filtering by just filtering heavily without the chill to get the same effect. But with Ardnamurchan, I do notice the Scotch mist appearing in the glass. This is so important. You know, I'm getting a wee bit ahead of myself as I'm thinking this through, but basically, to summarise, the more naturally and honestly the whisky's presented, and it's down to the reputation of the producer, the better the experience we get as flavour chasers and appreciators of a fine single malt whisky. So I've given this a couple of minutes with 10 millilitres of water added. This is rested water. It's essentially tap water with the chlorine removed, and I'm fortunate in the local water supply does not have that chemical additive called fluoride, which is, scientifically speaking, highly toxic. It is. But there we go. You don't get taught that at school. The nose is freshening up, light, fresh, yellow and white fruits. Melon notes are starting to come forward. The pineapple's becoming a little bit more prominent. The creaminess, the vanilliness, the biscuitiness is absolutely starting to sparkle. Taste. Intensely sweet and sour, absolutely grain led, very creamy on the palate, and by creamy I'm not talking dairy cream, I'm talking barley cream. It's very much a cream of the barley style of flavour. Citrus, slightly minty, slightly herbaceous, absolutely delicious. And furthermore, if you're prepared to leave this young whisky in the glass for longer, having added water, you will find that it continues to change its profile over the next subsequent 45 minutes to an hour, depending on your ambient temperature. And the result, well, not the result, but, well, the result's delightful. And what you're seeing is the very successful manifestation of a top quality single malt whisky from a distillery that really, really knows what it's doing and deserves its phenomenal reputation that it's enjoying at this moment in time. So long may that trend continue. I think they have other barley varieties in the pipeline that they're going to be featuring as part of this Heritage Barley Release Legacy type profile. And I think that for the experienced whisky drinker, it's a genuinely exciting and substantial development. It's turning a little bit more brulee now. The sweetness is distinctly tangy, not tanny, tangy. And that tanginess is infused and informed by a distinct, sharp, citrus sour note, which gives the flavour added depth. The development is relatively short but quite intense, and the finish is long-lasting, clean, fresh and zesty, with just a hint of pickled green ginger. And there you have it, a delightful, contemporary, good value, effective delivering single malt. In other words, just what we're looking for in this day and age as informed whisky drinkers. I'm going to give this, and bear in mind this is a non-age statement whisky, but at the end of the day it really doesn't matter the age of the whisky. What matters is the competency of construction, the quality of the casks, because you're far better spending less time in better casks than a longer time in poor quality casks. Age statements ain't what they used to be. Although I still find age statements meaningful, and I do tend to look for them. But there we go, 84 out of 100. We're ticking the boxes here. Natural colour, unchill filter, high strength. integrity produced, of no interest to the passive consumer that's looking for a bottle to see in the new year. No, this is one for the real whisky drinker. But it's also one, if someone is buying a present for a real whisky drinker, this is the sort of bottle you buy that's really going to impress them, and they're going to thank you for it. And thank you for watching. We'll see you for the next review for the extras.